Porsche, 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 and occasionally Audi. It's the Le Mans 24-hour.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Hello and welcome to Motor Racing Passion, the podcast for fans and enthusiasts to talk nothing but racing. I'm Luke Blackman, I've got Adam, I've got Daniel, and I've got Brock alongside me as usual. Today we are discussing the greatest endurance race of them all, the Le Mans 24 Hours. Held in France and first run in 1923, the 2020 edition of the race rolls off this weekend, a few months behind schedule for the 88th time in its history. And the race is a personal favourite of all of us and so many around the world. So what makes this the greatest race in the world?
To make it the greatest race in the world, well, it's ultimately man versus machine, essentially. It's 24 hours. Who can complete the most laps in that 24-hour period? You know, back when the race first started, it was, you know, how you can make your car last over the 24 hours. And as technology has come into it over the years, and as manufacturers have been able to make their cars last, it's a bit more of a sprint, but ultimately it still comes back to that fundamental man versus machine.
I reckon it's that element of the Triple Crown as well. So it's up there with your Monaco Grand Prix, your Indy 500s, and obviously Le Mans, the endurance aspect of that Triple Crown, but it's right at the top.
Awesome track, some very cool cars, multi-class racing, and it's just got such iconic corners, doesn't it? You know, it's such a unique track. So,
Indianapolis, Arnage,
And the Mulsanne.
Porsche curves, Maison Blanche.
It just sounds so fancy, you know, when you run through the corners names. I know, but like you could say that on a first date. Yeah. That'd be good.
Dunlop chicane.
Maybe not
Ford chicane.
Porsche curves.
Yeah.
We don't like chicanes though.
Oh, with a Dunlop bridge over the top of it.
Well, yeah. But I think also the fact it's just a 24-hour race. It doesn't stop all day. It runs through the night, through sunset, through the sunrise.
I think as well, it's most of the track is so flowing. So it's such a fast track. There's not really that many sort of squiggly bits, except for, Indianapolis and around there. The rest of the lap is pretty much flat out, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Time certain race too. There's something pure about it. I know there's time certain finishes and time certain races gets a lot of flack, particularly in Australia, but there's something nice that, the gun goes off at 4 p.m., 3 p.m. this year. You know exactly when it finishes. So
I guess the difference in that is everyone knows it's a time certain race.
Yeah.
From the get-go.
From the outset.
Whereas, you're expecting X amount of laps and then come into the last lap and then it's like, oh, it's a time certain finish. You're not going to get another one in. So, but yeah.
You've been there in person, Daniel?
Yeah, 2013, made the trek over as part of the my sporting swing throughout Europe. So I went to Monaco and then on to the Monaco for the Grand Prix and then on to Le Mans. So went through Speed Chills, which was one of the camping kind of providers there at the time, who recently bought out by who were Radio Le Mans' friends, Travel Destinations. But Speed Chills was there in 2013, so had a little two-man tent that's pitched on the inside of the Porsche curves that the Speed Chills set up there, and spent 5 days, cramped in a two-man tent, and one of the best experiences of my life.
2013, was that Porsche first year back? LMP1?
No, it was the year before. So it was Toyota versus Audi. So it was
last.
Yeah, it was still good, but do you know what I mean? It was funny. I sat there the whole week just thinking, how good would it be to be back in 12 months when Porsche were there? But no, Toyota gave Audi at least a run for a good 12 hours of the race, even led at one point. But ultimately, Audi were just too strong. But yeah, just amazing. And I was so green in terms of trying to know what to expect. I just jumped off a train in the main centre of town there, and then got the joining train to the track, and then had to walk like 6Ks to the to my campsite. And it was pouring rain, so it was just it was kind of brutal. But I look back on it now, it was so good.
What's the feeling like once you get there?
Oh well, just mesmerised, because when something's that big, we're talking 13 kilometres of track. And where I jumped off the train was near the football arena that's there now. And even then, just trying to get your bearings, like I knew where that was in the MotoGP track, but then just knowing like where I had to get to, trying to chat to people to figure out which direction to go in. They didn't speak English.
Were they impartial?
No, they were helpful where they could be, but we kind of hit an impasse when my French was so limited and their English was non-existent. So. So no, that was good. But then, parked up, night practice, night qualifying, that Wednesday night, Thursday night was just incredible. The speed, the sounds amongst the darkness around the track was just amazing. So, but actually the hard part too was I couldn't get any radio coverage because obviously it's in French and you can get through Radio Le Mans, but you couldn't actually get a radio anywhere until Saturday of the race. So I just, going back to something pure, just sat around the track and watched cars for, 2 days. And then basically you had to wait to get back to the campsite to actually figure out who was on pole. So it was something nice and just enjoyed what was in front of you. But, so good.
Well, I guess you get those iconic night shots on the coverage, from the classic night stint from, midnight to 4 or 5 a.m. on, Eurosport, usually here out in Australia, covers it for it there. And that's pretty mesmerising, seeing how the speed of the cars, especially the multi-class racing when the LMP1s come up on the GTEs for it there. How was that in person, seeing that, like when you rock up there on, night practice and night qualifying, to see in the first time for that, especially since, being in Indy where you've seen something at fully fledged speed for that when you're there.
Yeah, I think the biggest contrast was just the speed difference. So between the GTMs and then obviously the prototypes at the time, and it was 2013. It was obviously the Audi diesels, so it was just this like kind of whistle throughout the air, and obviously the Toyota. So you could almost pick the Audis coming just because of the silence. But yeah, just seeing the braking difference between the GT cars and then even, to be fair, the LMP2s. 2013 actually had like probably one of the strongest LMP2 races that year as well. I think it was 26 LMP2s or something like that, and that was that was incredible.
Do they have Dagwood dogs at Le Mans?
They do have Dagwood dogs.
Did you try?
No, I didn't. I think something about me didn't trust.
Really?
Yeah, like Dagwood dogs are dodgy at the best of times.
I mean, I'm actually quite a fan.
Oh, what, of their
I've never
health
had a bad
benefits?
A racetrack without a Dagwood dog, that's...
It's un-French, isn't
Come on,
it?
Daniel.
Yeah. No, but they did do a great bacon and egg roll. So that was...
Did you go on the Ferris wheel?
I did go on the Ferris wheel, yep.
Do they call it a Ferris wheel? Is it like a ferry wheel?
Yeah, I can't remember the signage or the description of it, but they took my money and they sent me up, so that was a good sign.
Mm.
So, I mean, all the iconic things like, the Ferris wheel, Indianapolis, Arnage, just being because you obviously get a bus to get to the track. I wasn't going to walk 13 kilometres up there. But one thing that I never thought of was just the traffic. So obviously you go through all the villages and things on the bus to get to the top end of the circuit. But the traffic with all the locals just driving in to have a look, it took me, I think, 45 minutes to get from down near the start finish line up to Arnage.
Did you go to the cafe on the Mulsanne?
I did not. So the hard part with that is you've actually got to leave. Yeah, you've got to leave the circuit to get up there, and at least the shuttles they were running at that point didn't go to that section. So if you have your own car, it'd be perfect. But it was just me and my backpack, so just stuck to the shuttles. But
there's a KFC there too, isn't there, on the Mulsanne?
Oh, there probably is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't get to that at least on foot. So But a KFC be perfect because it gets to about 2:00 as well in the race, and like everyone shuts up and goes home. So it's not like you can get a beer at 4 a.m.
You
It's-
can't.
No. So it was just like they all shut up. Yeah. So they go hard from the start of the race up until say 1:00, give or take, and then they pack up and it's like reopens at 7. And the good thing about the French is like when they're done, they're done. Like they're not hanging around to help you. They're out the door. So yeah. So it was
I would
just,
never have known that. I would have thought
yeah.
everything would be open
Yeah.
for 24 hours.
no. So it was yeah. So it was like no.
Even the
morning
Bathurst
snacks.
24 hour had snack places open for the whole entire race.
Yeah. So but then it kept.
What'd you do?
Well, I just
Stuff.
dealt with it.
Just watch the cars.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I was like, there was plenty to do. It was so cold. Though.
You would have been stinging for a
Oh.
beer by 7 a.m. though.
Yeah, I never in the thought of it did I think that France in the middle of summer, effectively, because June, that it'd be so cold. Like I was shivering that morning, couldn't wait to get back to the campsite to have a shower and just warm up. But but then that's the best part of the race too. Like I sat at the Porsche curves at dawn and just watched the cars fly through. It was a pretty somber occasion actually too, because sadly Alan Simonson had lost his life earlier in an early lap crash, which do you know what I mean? It took a while for that to filter through, and we'd watched him in the Australian GT Championship, British GT Championships as well. So it was kind of like this was one of the most exciting things that I'd planned to do and was actually there, and obviously then contrasted with that. So it was a pretty surreal 24 hours.
It was fitting that Tom Christensen won the race
Won the race, yeah. So that was
with Alan McNish
yeah, which
and Dindo.
yeah, was that his final win or did they back up in 2014? Can't remember. But anyways, yeah, for
Actually, no, Capello wasn't in the car, was he?
no.
No.
I don't know if that's when Luke Duval had started with them. But yeah, so there was a lot going on in that race at the time, and but I can't wait to get back there. Just everything about it. Driver parades in the Old Town on the Friday, the rest days.
Did you go to scrutineering in the city?
No, so I arrived into Le Mans on the Wednesday. So I'd come from the French Open tennis prior to that. And then, so it was came into the Wednesday in time for that Wednesday practice.
So looking at Dawn and the Porsche curves, what's your most vivid memory from seeing there? Is it, just the different speeds of the cars at that time, or was it how the track presented to yourself that first time you saw it?
Oh, I think it's just the visuals. Do you know what I mean? Sun rising, a fair few clouds as well at that time. But yeah, the sun coming up, cars peeking through with the headlights, and just how they appear. Because where you sit, you don't actually see the entry coming in, or sorry, from where we're on the inside. There's also an outside segment, but so the cars just flash and appear there. Do you know what I mean? At like probably 200 kilometers an hour for an LMP1 car. So it was just just once again the different lines and different speeds that each of the LMP 1 and 2 cars take compared to the GT cars, and threading the needle. Like you probably see all the onboards that the risks that the LMP1 cars take in terms of trying to make up time, because if you're going to follow a GT car through there, you can lose 5 to 10 seconds. So they're taking wide lines to get through and swinging in front, and yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So did it live up from your earliest memories of the race? Did it live up to expectations going there? And
Yeah, so past them. Do you know what I mean? Just in terms of everything that you'd hoped it would be, and do you know what I mean? Just the size of it as well, the event. Like, do you know what I mean? I think 2014 had the bigger crowd with Porsche coming back, but even so, like I was in one of the grandstands on the front straight for the start of the race, and it was packed. So I think there was 200,000 people there for the start and finish of the race. But yeah, all the pre-race festivities.
How good are the pre-race festivities at Le Mans?
Yeah. Oh, and they don't do it by halves. So the flyover, the French national anthem. So Ryan Briscoe was driving that year in the level 5 motorsports.
HPD?
It was with Scott Tucker. Yeah. So anyway, there was a bit of Jason Bright was actually there in a GDM car as well that year.
Ferrari, I think, wasn't
That
it?
was
Orange
something I
Ferrari.
didn't know till recently that he got over there in 2013.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was like quite random. And I think in the interview, he just said it was one of the things he always wanted to do. And it appeared and so he jumped in. So
Were the Hawaiian Tropic Girls there for the
no,
pre-race?
No. So I don't know if that was a year off, but then I haven't seen him the last couple of years either. So, that might have been a thing of the past. But, as I said before, just can't wait to get back to that event. And obviously, like this year, obviously not the strongest entry, which I'm sure we'll get to, but it doesn't matter. Like it's one of those events that it doesn't matter. You're racing the circuit, you're racing the clock as much as you're racing other people. So,
but I guess one of the other iconic things is when they go on their roll around lap to take the French flag, that just how they're all lined up on the front straight.
yes,
And then they file out one after other. Like that's just, I'm sure like when you're watching it, it's one of the expectations to see, is one of them not going to fire up? They're going to have trouble getting away. But I guess just hearing the buzz of the crowd and everything, watching them roll away, that'll be some, I guess, a special feeling being there for it, especially the first time.
Yeah, I remember the kids. So from where we were in the stand as well. So that was the year Bruno Senna had finished his Formula One career the year before and was going after the GT Championship. So his car was right in front of us. The Golf Aston Martin, that was lined up right in front. Obviously the teams, all the mechanics line up for the national anthem. So that was pretty cool just to see that. And then, and as we touched on before, it's like with the driver parades, actually Tom Christensen, Alec McNish, all those drivers that you actually just get to be a stone's throw away from.
And everyone gets interviewed, don't they?
Yes, because it goes like it's over the space of 2 hours, and they obviously have a start point, and then it works its way through the historic centre of the town, and so that was that was brilliant, and then jumped up to one of the Audi signing booths as well, and so seeing McNish and Christensen there as well was really cool.
Are the prototypes bigger in person than they look on TV?
No, they're actually, from my point of view, they're actually smaller.
Yeah, because I find that's a weird thing with some race cars. You see them and you're like, geez, that's big compared to what I expected. And other cars are like, wow, they're actually smaller than they look.
Yeah, and I think having them alongside the GT car as well.
So they're actually like look much smaller.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
yeah, and I think the Porsche 919 actually took that a step further. Like, if you look for a comparison photo too, but the Porsche GT and the Porsche 919 LMP, it's like it was tiny alongside that. And if you throw in a BMW GT,
the big boy.
yeah, exactly.
The
Like
M8.
that'll be 3 times as big. Yeah, so
Which I guess comes to your point, like they look larger.
They look huge.
Yeah.
Like they look like these giant spaceships.
They sound like it.
Just lengthwise, they look hugely long.
Yeah.
Especially with the fin.
Yeah,
I think the fin makes them look.
I love
but
it.
they're so low to the ground too, which is obviously aerodynamic base. But yeah, it's just like they barely come up to the windowsill on the GT cars.
So what was so you went there in 2013. What was sort of some of your earliest memories of the race that led to you going there in 2013?
Yeah, like obviously the mid to late 90s, we talk about the Mercedes CLKs, the Toyota GT1s. They were my memories of Le Mans. So it was one of those things that I hadn't always dreamed of going to this race, but obviously as I kind of researched more, learnt more about it, started watching it, because you think we didn't get a lot of coverage of Le Mans 24 hour in Australia, or at least I didn't. It was Radio Le Mans, with some quality dial-up internet, trying to get a feed over the computer, listening to the late 90s and early 2000 races. It was probably, to be fair, it was probably the Bentleys. I remember when they came back in 2003 or 2001, 2002, 2003, that period, that I think that's when my kind of interest in the race stepped up.
David Brabham?
David Brabham, 2003, yeah. And
He drove the English car, even though he was an Australian.
And
Other country.
And then the Peugeot coming back as well. Like, once again, that era from 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, like just only 2 manufacturers, but they just were going head to head. And And actually, the documentary Truth in 24. So for any listeners that haven't checked that out, it's on YouTube. That had me hooked. So from actually seeing that, then I was that flagged it for me as something to one day I wanted to get there and to. I remember actually on my wall as a kid, I had these list of races that I wanted to dreaming big, visit and watch, and then race at. So had Nürburgring 24, Bathurst 24, Le Mans 24, Indianapolis, and then the Monaco Grand Prix. So to actually get there and tick that box, obviously got a few entries in Lotto to try and compete there one day. But that was such a cool thing at least from my point of view.
You're right about sort of the lack of TV coverage and awareness, because my earliest memories are of like Rothmans Porsches and silk cut Jaguars and things like that, Peugeot 905s, mainly from like the odd review video I'd see as a kid or little news snippets. But it was only really sort of the late 90s when Channel 10 started doing they'd do like a half hour, an hour wrap up of Le Mans, that it sort of started getting sort of regular coverage of it every year.
I remember, I think it was 2014. I can't remember the circumstances I was in. There was no way for me to watch the race. The only thing I had access to was YouTube, and all the illegal live streams of it kept going down. So I ended up watching the entire race from the onboard of the Audis. So that was interesting.
But a lot of the teams are doing that now. I know Rebellion, they put in there. Then Nissan did it as well for their couple there. So I think Le Mans people there, they have a couple of different streams going on, plus the main one in there to have a look. Like, it's good to, I think Porsche put up one from their GTE car, I think 2014, 15, I think it was there, and you can watch the first 2 hours just from the onboard.
The onboard of that GT car. That's got to be the best sounding onboard ever.
Mm.
Yeah.
The Porsches sound pretty good, onboard camera and just the...
I've been found on YouTube when I was trying to cut my lap times on Gran Turismo 6 of Le Mans. But I found Alonso's whole night stint from last year's race on YouTube. So you can have 2 hours just watching his stint on board, which is pretty cool. And same thing, like it's carving up.
I think that's probably one of the good things about Le Mans is that it captivates you to watch it. Like, you look at it, it's driving at night. What could there be? But just because of as we said, the speed difference, that, carving through traffic, going down the Mulsanne, even though now it's got the two chicanes there, whereas, the late 80s, early 90s, before they changed it, in there was just flat out the whole Mulsanne from there. It's just, you see your braking marker on the side and you pick it out, whether it's a building that overhangs it or, you're waiting for the braking marker to come up, but you stomp on the brakes the latest you can, the driver can, from there, and you flick it backwards and forwards and you're back on it. Like, it's just one of the things why dodging different class cars, like, it's a captivating thing.
You mentioned the challenge of night driving and all that, but also the LMP1 hybrid regulations have shown that sort of there's still a big challenge when it comes to getting a car to last 24 hours. Not really in the last few years with Toyota on its own, but the last year it was Toyota versus Porsche. All the hybrids were sort of falling over, and it was just sort of
a P2 car almost won the race.
The Jackie Chan DC.
Yes. Yeah, the black and red thing.
Yeah.
So it shows sort of the challenge is still there to make a car do 24 hours problem free.
Yeah, and that comes back to the man versus machine type deal. It's an all-in collective effort from the drivers to the team to the car designers for it there, and how hard you determine to push for it there. A lot more now. They've got a lot more electronic assistance with down changes, up changes, and everything, and a lot more sensors. You go back to, I guess, the iconic periods of it. Steve McQueen, they made the movie for that there, and they had to nurse the gearbox, they had to nurse engine, nurse the brakes for it there, and for it there. And recently Ford versus Ferrari as well showed that iconic thing where Ford, they knew their brakes wouldn't last, they devised a way of being able to change the whole system over, which, you think about now, it's a no-brainer for any team. Like, they have kits and they design it to do that way and they can do it. But you go back to the the old days where it was nurse your car for 24 hours to be there in the last half an hour, and then you go for the win. And hopefully all your other competitors do the opposite and don't protect their cars so you can get there. And I guess for myself on that, and that's where, my earliest memories of the race come from is probably when I was younger. As I said, didn't get too much coverage out here in Australia, live stream, well, not live stream, but, whether it's Radio Le Mans or anything like that, was the Le Mans movie when I was younger. Obviously, I think more than likely would have been you, Luke, who probably would have been popping that on there at probably once school holidays, watching it and watching
Most
that.
likely.
Yeah, and for that, and then got some taste, and then Channel 10 got on with like Mark Webber getting in the Mercedes gig for over there, and that pushed it a bit more, and just following it on from there.
Yet he never drove a lap in anger of a Mercedes at Le Mans.
We flew a plane, so.
So I think your point too about it being endurance and looking after your car. One thing I loved about the GTE component of it over the last few years was like from lap 1, they are banging doors. There's the GTE train from lap 1 till 24 hours later. Like they don't leave anything on the table.
Oh, it's the train until the Aston gets bopped the night before and slowly falls down the train and spends 24 hours half a lap down. Yeah. Or the leader gets caught up with a different safety car and has won the race 2 hours in.
Yeah, actually that killed. Yeah, that was gifted
That's a
Porsche
huge drama that they need to resolve.
But I just like that too. Like some people, that 2017 race that you spoke to, cars just hybrid systems breaking things. You got these other guys who are just
full sprint race.
Well, they're going almost too wide through Indianapolis on the first lap of the race because they want to lead.
Yeah,
it's just crazy.
Well, I guess that's the thing. Everyone wants to lead the first lap, so they can throw that pressure release out there and say,
it's almost like they just race to the first pit stops and then calm down. I was like,
what's the old races missed? Whether it's a 10-lap go-kart race or obviously Le Mans 24 hour, everyone wants to just be at the front.
Yeah,
to
crazy.
Do it. So for that, but I guess for me, the GTE, that's been the pick of the bunch for the last handful of years. Like you're always going to have the LMP1 battle, whether it's Porsche, Toyota, for it there, or Audi, Toyota previously to that, for it. But GTE is just always Porsche's been, Corvette's been going there for a lot of years. Ford brought the GT car back in there, and there's been battles from there, and had different drivers come from all different facets of the world to come do it. But it's just delivered year in, year out.
Except for maybe this year. That's but I was going through the list before too. It's like I think this year the GTM component is going to be probably the pick there. I think we've got like 15 or so. I may be being a little bit generous there, but entries, like it's a strong GTM entry this year, which I think should be able to provide that kind of classic duel, just because you don't know who to back in that entry.
Well, in terms of that, even like LMP2 has almost just become a 24-hour sprint because the Gibson engines are so reliable, and most people are in an Orica. They seem to. It just seems to be an out-and-out sprint.
Yeah, and in both those, so both LMP2 and GTE now, you've got the your silver or bronze driver there too. That's kind of adds an extra variable into the mix. So trying to pick winners in that's difficult.
Yeah. I think it's a bit of a shame that the state is that how many of the GTE Pro cars have been pulled. Obviously Corvette not coming back. The two Porsche GTE from US cars aren't coming for it there. I think it's not so much a loss for the class, because there is still some great entries in it, but overall having 6 in GTE Pro, having that number up at 10, 12, that would have been quite a good spectacle. I'm sure they'll still put on a good race for it there.
Yeah, I'm excited by the Risi competition. Ferrari there with Bourdais. I was glad to see him get a seat back in that race, but hopefully that can push those, because you're looking at the AF Corsa and the 2 Porsche factory cars there, you think it'd be your leaders. As you said, Aston hasn't had the most success there recently. So yeah, I think there's still enough there to be interested in that pro class, but I just don't think you're going to have those. Think about it. Previous years, you got 5 manufacturers in the first 5 places, all kind of duking it out. So.
I think you go back to that Ford GT scramble where they were weaving in and out the whole way down the Mulsanne, getting in the top.
2018. That's my favourite moment of any Le Mans ever. With Makovic in the Porsche. Yeah, unbelievable. Awesome sort of. It was about 3 hours to go, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was awesome.
All right, well, that's a few of our memories of the race and a bit of a touch on the 2020 race, but we'll be back after the break to have a much more in-depth chat about the 2020 race coming up.
Did you know each time you go onto the internet, you are unknowingly leaving countless pieces of information in the digital world? A VPN gives you a virtual private network, creating a secure and private connection between your device and the internet. ExpressVPN is one of the best providers. With ExpressVPN, you get the fastest speeds, 24/7 customer support, top-rated user-friendly software, and access to unlimited content. Australian Netflix doesn't have Lord of the Rings or the latest Breaking Bad series? Fire up ExpressVPN and access over 4,000 movies and TV shows only available on Netflix America. For a limited time, go to expressvpn.com/motorracingpassion and get 3 months free when you sign up for a 12-month plan. ExpressVPN. Safe, secure, and unlimited content.
Welcome back to the podcast. Well, looking ahead to the 2020 race coming up this weekend, let's have a bit of a look at sort of who we think's going to do the business. Is it be hard to look past a Toyota win, I would say?
Yeah, I was scanning through the entry list, and obviously it's Rebellion versus Toyota. Rebellion's knocked off Toyota a couple of times this year already.
There's no BOP though at Le Mans.
Clears up.
They do it during the series, and then you get to Le Mans, and it's Toyota.
So
I think if they can last the 24 hours, it's Toyota. And they've had good reliability recently for it, so I think it'll be hard. I think it'll be more about LMP2, GTE.
They're just in a sort of holding pattern at the moment till the hypercar regulations in. Like everyone sort of knows, we don't say it, but it kind of sucks at the moment, and we're just focused on GT until we get to hypercar.
Are you ruling out the Bicolis racing team?
I am.
Okay. Fair play.
I do love the
they're not
Bicolis.
Toyota.
I do love the Bicolis.
Everyone loves Bicolis.
Yeah,
It's got fluoro yellow on it. Looks awesome.
Yeah. And they're having a go. I mean, they're having a crack at P1.
I mean, I do hope that Rebellion come out with another art car. I actually quite liked it. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to see them back to 2 cars. Obviously, they've just been running the one in the early rounds of the WEC. But, that's Romain Dumas running in the Rebellion, which will be good. And then, obviously, Bruno Senna heading up the other car. So,
what do you reckon about the Ginetta? Do you reckon the Ginetta is going to last for 24 hours?
Well, it might last, but I don't think it'll.
Mid-pack at
24
best, or towards the
fourth or fifth. I think it's.
I just don't have a lot of trust in a Ginetta showing up, to be honest.
Which Toyota do you think will win?
I'm going to go on the 8 car. Brennan Hartley to add another Le Mans victory to the one he won in 2017. But I mean, do
you think they owe the 7 car a win after
They
last year?
absolutely are going to give it to the 7 car. They have to. Last year it was so orchestrated. No, 7 car for the win.
Yeah, that was so bad.
You don't think it really had a puncture?
Well, I don't, but I can understand them. Do you know what I mean? Like take the conspiracy theories out of it, I can also understand that if a signal comes up and says you've got a slow puncture, do you take the chances with an hour to go?
Mate, 7 cars going to win it. That's it. Just forget it.
They definitely earned it. You feel for Conway, Kobayashi, and Lopez last year. That was brutal. So yeah, if there's a bit of justice, then it'd be good for the 7 car. But I'm going to stick by my boy.
Everyone loves Kobayashi too. I've never heard anyone say anything negative about Kobayashi. Like, we all want him to win though.
I think from his Formula 1 career, there was maybe a couple of incidents
didn't
where
like
someone
him,
might.
though?
No, I liked him. I was just like,
Exactly, that's my point. Everyone likes him.
he harpooned a couple of blokes, and I reckon they might have had a.
Well, I mean, he also had his front wing fall off a few times, which
Yeah.
assisted in that.
Assisted, yeah. But so LMP1,
then-
Toyota for the W.
But then I guess you look at LMP2 and you look at the range of entries that you've got in there. Locally, it will be interesting to see how the Eurasia Motorsport goes. Obviously, they were out ran in the Asian Le Mans series out at the Bend earlier in the year, and they got the nod for an entry in there. Looks like there was supposed to be Shane Van Gisbergen was cemented to take that spot, but unfortunately with all the border restrictions and the calendar revisions, obviously he's not going to be in the car. So I guess from a local standpoint, it would be good to see them get up, but there's a lot of other entries in there that are pretty competitive.
But that all-female entry this year,
That's
which
true.
has actually quite a good driver lineup too, I think, for an endurance race.
Do you want to know the best thing about the LMP2 entry list, if you read down it?
The amount of cars in it.
That, although I'm a bit anti-LMP2,
Why?
well, everyone's got to have a Gibson engine. You're only allowed to choose.
Cool cars though.
Yeah, you can
Cool
choose.
cars,
you can choose
but-
5 chassis, but it's only one. That's the problem. It's only worth picking
Only
one
one.
at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the best thing about the entry list is not only do we see Michelin tyres, we also see Goodyear tyres.
Oh, you love a tyre war, don't you?
Love a tyre war.
You do love a tyre war.
Just a pity there's not an engine war.
Yeah, I think.
You don't need an engine war if you've got a tyre war though.
Could have both.
Could have both.
Could,
Both.
but the entry list could be, on the other hand,
How many
LMP1.
how many Alpines are in LMP2 this year? For Le Mans. One?
One, the Signatech entry.
Oh yeah,
I'd
Andre
say-
Negrao, the Thomas Laurent car.
Yeah,
I think it's hard to go past Jota. I think.
Yeah, I just find Jota Sport really arrogant. So I'm backing the United Autosports Paul di Resta car, which is running in the WC, and then obviously for the 24 hours, that's got my nod.
Is the Jumbo car in it? The Jumbo Supermarkets car?
Pretty sure it is, judging by some of the tweets that the WEX put out.
I'm going for that one for the win.
wonders if it doesn't come out yellow.
What do you mean?
Previously they've been fluoro yellow.
Well, they're not fluoro yellow.
No?
They're just yellow. Yeah.
Just-
No, I just like that team.
Oh, the Dutch connection.
Yeah.
There you go. It's
So they call it the Dutch train or the Dutch steam
Yeah,
train or something. Yeah.
That's I think, and this is where for Brock the Jumbo sponsor Max and Yoss as well. So
Exactly.
that's that's disgusting.
Oh, Max.
No, Jumbo for the win, P2. Number 7 for P1. I've got it all worked out.
And
So-
GTE, what are we?
Rizzi Competizione.
Yeah, all right, I like that car.
Well, GTE at the moment, we've got 2 Ferraris. Sorry,
Three
three
Ferraris.
2 factory Ferraris.
Yeah.
2 factory Porsches, 2 factory Astons, and then the Risi Competizione
Yeah.
Ferrari.
Pronouncing it.
Only because it's a private car.
Yeah.
I'd love a privateer to get up.
Who's in there with Seabaz?
I think Olivier Pla.
Oh, yeah, Tidy.
And can't recall the third driver just yet off the top of my head.
Well, still, I reckon that's quality, but yeah, I think I just can't see him knocking over the 2AF courses.
So who's going to win? GTE?
I think a Porsche.
Yeah, of course.
I think
It's
a
the Estro Christensen Vantor car.
probably.
for sure.
It's such a
They
pity
missed out last year.
Well,
So
last year they had the exhaust failure.
Yeah.
Like, when does an exhaust fail on a
Yeah.
GT car? So I'm going
and a
to
Porsche at that.
Yeah.
It's such a pity they pulled the IMSA Porsches
Yeah.
out of
It
it.
is
But
a
understandable. You can see why.
Oh, yeah, there's nothing you can do about it this year.
It'll be interesting to see how the 51 AF Corsa with Pierre Guidi, Collado, and Serra goes. Like in a GTE, that's a pretty solid driver lineup to match up the other ones.
Yeah, but Sarah still owes me after he binned the Ferrari at Bathurst this year too. I was so filthy about that.
I love it how he owes you.
Yeah, personally invested.
I was behind that Ferrari, and then
But isn't that the
packed
great?
up, and
Isn't
then-
that the great thing about a 24-hour? You get invested in the teams that you follow.
Well, the
Like,
the driver.
A special mention for the Nicky team car because
Nicky team.
he's a super cool guy.
He's.
So,
Well, I was gonna say I'm going to jump on the Aston Martins. They're due.
well, they got robbed last year. I mean, that car qualified on pole genuinely, and then got its legs cut off from the knees down on the night before
Yep.
the race.
So no, that's that's my pick.
What about GTE AM? Since we've hit the pros,
There's only one
factories.
winner, the Golf Racing Porsche,
Benny Barker
based purely on paint job.
and Ben Barker.
And Ben
Because
Barker.
I mean, he can.
But if
drive.
Ben Barker wasn't driving, it'd still be the favourite.
Yeah, but the fact Ben Barker is driving it, mate.
Makes it a shoe-in.
For me, 77 Dempsey Proton with Matty Campbell in it. For there, I think.
Wait, what year did he win? Is he taking it?
He won with
Was it last
Dempsey.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's gone. Yeah, actually, I'm pretty sure it was last year. Because then he went. Yeah, he tried to do the double with Nürburgring.
If the IMSA Porsches had come this year, he was going to be GTE Pro, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Because he's with Manti as well.
Yeah.
And if you're with Manti, you're a pro driver.
Yeah.
Going to be hard to beat the Keating car. They always go well.
And they're going to be seething still after they were dudded last year.
Yeah.
As well with those double penalties.
Yeah.
So
Blake Amola and Felipe Fraga.
Yeah, what a
who we shared a beer with at the Bathurst 12 hour. Which was cool.
We did. There's a good story to that, which possibly shouldn't be told for the sake of his
He's a cool
professional
guy,
career.
Felipe Fraga.
Yeah.
No, to be
great
fair,
guy.
Special mention to Maxi Book.
yeah, in Fraga's defence, he joined us to have a beer, but he didn't consume beer.
No.
He just had a good chat. Maxi, on the other hand, anyway,
He had a chat too.
yes, he did.
It's funny though to look at the entry list like it's a bit I shouldn't say depleted. Some of the sting's been taken out of it due to Crenna, but I mean, you look at the entry list and there's still a race to be had.
Oh, absolutely. And
Well-
that's what, I think that's where the exciting part comes. You're going to have, obviously, you'll look at the outright, but you class racing, LMP2
It's going to be awesome.
and GTEM is the depth and just the unpredictability about
So
it.
even P1, like forget the Toyotas, you're going to have 4 other cars that are, I mean, they're genuinely going to be fighting the non-hybrids.
Yeah.
P2's a huge field, it's 20 odd cars. GTE Pro's a little thin, but genuinely, you only
It's
need
just
2 or
still-
3 of them to make an awesome race.
Oh,
And there's like 20 cars in GTM, so I think that's pretty cool.
yeah. And I mean, 7, when you compare it to 6 LMP1s, 7 GTE Pros are fine. Especially if they're going to be a lot closer and you legitimately don't know who's going to win that race.
I reckon GTE AM is going to be that'll be the
One to watch.
exciting one for sure. There's so many strong lineups in it.
Well, and that's what keeps you connected over 24 hours as well. Like there's so much going on. So,
Look, I'll be honest, I pretty much watch Le Mans just for the GT classes. I just prefer the tin tops. I find them more exciting. And the P1s are cool, but GT's where it's at, man. It reminds me of like the old McLarens back in the day, you know? Like that, for me, that's where it's at.
They were good looking cars.
They were outright cars.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I love the long tail one. from
Everyone did. I
97.
remember the Fina. Was it Fina
Yeah.
sponsor?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the ones BMW ran.
Yeah.
The Fina Schnitzer
Awesome car.
cars, yeah, from '97. Well, that brings up a point. What would be your favourite Le Mans car in the history of the race that you've seen?
I think McLarens are up there. Everyone goes for the 787B. I don't know why, but for me, it's definitely the GT1 Toyota 98. Was it?
Yeah.
GT1,
I mean,
Toyota
seriously,
GT1,
I mean that was such a good looking car.
yeah.
Yeah,
and it was
that's
so
my pick.
quick.
It was super fast. That's
so
my pick.
fragile though. As
Yeah,
well.
exactly. But that almost adds to the aura, the fact that it
And
never won.
Only ever raced 3 times.
That's the car, mate. That's
did
my favorite.
did 98
car.
Le Mans 24 hours, 99 Le Mans 24 hours, and then did the 99. Did a race in Japan at the end of 99. The may have been Fuji.
Yeah, okay.
99.
Yep.
Just like a Japanese local event.
But can you nut it down just to one? Like for
GT1.
just GT1? Like
Yeah.
even over the history of
That's
quite
it,
an
mate.
iconic race, it all
That's
comes
my
down to
favourite-
GT1?
That's my favorite Le Mans car. Do you know how many races I won on Gran Turismo with that thing? That's my favorite car, mate.
But then you you throw in the silk cut Jags, the
Sauber.
1955 D type Jag, which like to me that's a beautiful looking car. Yeah, even you go through the the hybrid era, like they're not beautiful cars to look at, but even I just look at from the diesel point into the hybrids from Audi, that was pretty good. The R8, once again, classic car, very successful. That was a good looking vehicle.
But you even go back to Group C, like Porsche 935, or through that, previously to that,
Well, that wasn't a Group C car.
No, sorry. Yeah, true.
956.
956, sorry. Yeah, trying to get that one right there. Too many numbers. Porsche, get your act together for it there. But then you go back, the GT40, that's an iconic car for it there. Sounded really cool. They bunged the big banger in there to get them up there for it there. But then you come back, the Bentley, when they came back in the early 2000s, that was a
Speed
good
8.
Yeah.
Special mention for the Speed 8. I mean, what a good looking car.
But and that's outright. But then you go right back through when you go to your GTs. Like there's some good looking cars all the way through there too. So
Do we mention the Nissan
Delta Wing.
LMP1 car 2015?
No,
No?
That didn't exist, I don't think.
Oh, it's got
that doesn't make the list.
yeah, it's being out qualified by an LMP2 car. That was
Doesn't make the list.
that has to be one of the biggest investment flops in racing. Oh, maybe Toyota Formula One, but do you know what I mean? Like just
No, I think this was worse.
that's
It's funny you mentioned the Porsche 935. That is something that I that conjures up thoughts of Alan Moffat's doco, the 24 Hours, the Test of a Man, when he drove Porsche 935 in 1980 at Le Mans. That's one of my first memories of seeing the race. Again, is that documentary. But in terms of my favourite car, you might be surprised I'm not going to pick a Martini car.
You're only
Well-
doing it to make a point. Otherwise, you'd pick a Martini car. It's going to be a golf car then.
Hang on. Give me a second.
He's trying to think of something that's
No.
not Martini or golf.
Well, I mean, Martini. You had the Martini Lanciers in the mid '80s.
That's
But
not
I
a
mean-
Le Mans car.
Yeah, LC.
Oh, yeah,
Martini
okay. I'm
Lancia
thinking
LC
of
too.
Group B. Well,
Yeah.
I wasn't born then, so
Yeah. They had, but I mean, they only ran for a couple of years, and they weren't mainstays.
Oh, well, let me just backpedal
And
out of that one.
you had the Martini Porsche 917, which wasn't even in Martini colours. It was sort of a blue and green sort of swirly colour scheme. But I have to go Golf Porsche 917.
There we go.
I'd have to a Golf Porsche 917. Honourable mention, I think, the Rothmans Porsche.
Oh,
I think
sure.
it just looked
fantastic. The retro livery?
No. On a 956.
Oh, okay, the original.
On a
What
956.
about a pink pig livery like that?
Didn't do anything for me.
Nah.
I didn't like the pink pig.
I don't even like the retro version of it.
No. But even the Rothmans 997, just the line,
Cigarette sponsors, isn't it? It's just
it
about
is.
race
But
cars
the
and
lines
tobacco.
didn't quite suit the 997.
Mm.
Even when at Bathurst in 2017, Bathurst Super Cheap Auto 1000, when James Moffat ran the retro Rothmans colours on his VF Commodore, the lines compared to a VL Commodore that his dad raced in Rothmans colours, the lines just don't suit it. The doors are too high on modern cars, I think, to really come across as, to really get the coolness of the paint job across. But yeah, so I'd say Golf 917 wins it for me.
Can I throw the Ferrari 333 SP into that as well?
As a car, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I reckon that was
Which one?
cool.
The Momo one?
Momo one, but more its longevity too, as well.
Yeah.
Like it ran for 8 years, give or take.
Yeah, 94 to around.
Yeah,
2000.
I think up till 2003, I think it was still running in the LMS.
And also in the FIA Sports Car Championship, or the Sports Racing World Cup.
Yeah. But no, I think that was a really cool looking car. It's actually one of my first onboard memories too of Le Mans Channel 10 running some footage of that.
Yeah, that was the
97, give or take.
98 review. Yeah.
That's, do you know what I mean? I was just like, geez, how long does this track go for? That one's worthy in the mix. Not the most successful, but yeah, I think for its longevity and outside of, or at least in prototype racing, we haven't seen Ferrari features since.
Yeah. Well,
Touchwood.
Moretti, he was Italian, but he based himself in America. He was the one responsible for getting that Ferrari built, mainly for IMSA.
Yeah.
For the IMSA World Sports Cars formula. And but it had a long lifespan in Europe afterwards as well. But what would be your favourite race in the history of Le Mans?
That's a tough one. Just to bring it down just to one for myself, that's pretty hard. But
2011, that was, I think, outside of staged finishes. That's been
that
the
was going to be
closest?
one of mine. I think in recent times, 2011 was quite good. Especially you had like the one Audi holding off the three Peugeots.
Yep, that's very good.
But unfortunately, that's another trend. I don't know. Have they had a proper Le Mans finish since 2011? Because I remember 2010. Everyone was on the side of the road on the last lap. You know, the marshals waving the flags and. But 2011, they said not to do it because it was a very close
they were
finish.
still racing. Yeah.
And I don't remember since then have they. I know last year, like the Toyotas won by mile, but they didn't do a Le Mans finish.
But I guess is it even in the class races, like been saying that, especially like 2018, where the GTE Pro came down right to the end as well for it there. Maybe is that they're looking at the overall race and even the class battles to say, you know, it's going to be potentially a close finish or can see where it's at. So
You can't have people on a live racetrack in 2020.
yeah,
No way.
You might have said that in 2010, though. They still did it.
Can't even go outside without a face mask anymore. I'm going to let you on
That's
the
a fair
box
point.
straight.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. You can't even be trusted to go to a pub these days.
Nah.
What would be your favourite race, Brock,
Oh,
in the history of the race?
I was very young. It's probably a bit of a cliche. I remember my first memories of obviously that Weber flip.
Yeah.
But probably those couple years where you had Porsche, Toyota, Mercedes,
Yep.
like the big
The
boys
depth,
yeah.
were all there.
Late 90s.
Yeah, and the cars were sort of the fact that they made road car versions of those cars, I think was pretty exciting. So I'd go, those 2 years, 98, 99.
Yeah. GT1, late 90s.
Yeah, just awesome cars. Seriously cool cars.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
probably it's probably an outside one, but the comeback where we mentioned it a bit earlier, where we had the LMP2 cars in the lead for a majority of the race, and the Toyota was just hunting them down for the whole second half of the race, pretty much. That's one that stands out in mind to go, is this the chance that an LMP2 is going to get up over an LMP1?
Porsche, I think, hunted
Porsche,
them.
yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
not Toyota.
Yeah.
Toyotas fell apart.
Toyota.
Yeah.
Yeah, that race broke my heart. Like, that was like the LMP2
It
part
was
cool.
exciting though.
Because I was thinking, when are they going to get to him? Are they going to get to him? If anything happens, is it?
Yeah, the relentless kind of doing your maths. Because at one point too, it almost looked too far, but then they did it. I think with half an hour to go or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was I just
And that Porsche had like earlier in the night, like that thing was written off.
Yeah.
Like no chance that they're gone. They can't win it. What was the problem they had?
I think that they all had issues with the hybrid, different extenuating circumstances. But I think that race was basically the end of the current hybrid formula because it aided its credibility. There was the lack of depth with both of the cars only entered two, or both the teams only entered two cars.
Nah,
each.
Toyota ran 3.
Oh, they ran 3, and all 3.
That was the first year they ran 3.
and all 3 of them had problems.
After all the years of Porsche and Audi running 3,
yeah,
they
went
Toyota
back.
didn't. Then Toyota did run 3, and all of them fell
It
apart.
was cruel.
I'd say for me, the Brock's mention of the late 90s, 1999, I thought was a cracking race. And really, in terms of major participation from lots of manufacturers in the outright class, that was the last year where there was, you had Audi, you had Toyota, Nissan, Mercedes, BMW.
Was that white BMW that had Dell?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Oh, won the race too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was. Audi was so committed in '99. They had two open top prototypes and 2 closed top.
See, it says a lot because
Prototypes.
I like 98, 99, I was 5 or 6.
Yeah.
But I remember it.
Yeah,
That's, I don't know.
yeah. So '99 was a great race, and 1990 is a race I enjoyed.
Yeah.
Looking back over, and I mean that was similar. There's something about the late '80s and the late '90s. Just the manufacturer participation was just. I mean, the 1990 race. You had Mercedes, Jaguar,
Nissan.
Nissan, yep, and you had Toyota. You had quality Porsches run by privateer teams, but I mean the
That was when the Nissan was on pole by 6 seconds. wasn't it?
yeah, Mark
Blundell.
Blundell, yeah. But you had like the private Repsol Porsche that got quite close to the win.
Yeah.
Broke down towards the end of the race.
So 1990
Yeah.
was also the year that the chicanes were introduced.
Was
Luke,
too.
I know you're a bit of a traditionalist,
Yep.
so I'd be curious to get your opinion. But just for the sake of, why not?
Yep.
The speeds before the chicanes were getting a little crazy.
Yeah.
So in 1989, the year before, we had a top speed of 389 kilometers an hour for a Jaguar.
Yeah.
And 1988, Peugeot rocked up with a car with the sole intention of breaking the speed record at Le Mans.
Yep.
They topped out at 407, advertised it as 405 kilometers an hour to link in with the sort of road car program with Roger Dorchy. So they hit the speed lap record, blew up after qualifying 36th.
Yeah. That'd be the WM Peugeot, I think,
Yeah.
wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was. So do you feel, after 1990, the top speed 1990 is 353.
Yeah.
Do you think the chicanes took away from the track?
Yes, I think they did. I mean, if I put my health and safety hat on, I can understand why they did it. But
Because if an Indy car can run, up around 400, why can't these?
yeah, oh yeah, exactly, and especially as in some ways that the FIA was fighting with the ACO at the time, which is partly like Le Mans was in and out of the World Sports Car Championship at the time, and there was a lot of political nonsense also around the chicane introductions. I think the FIA invented a rule that a straight couldn't be longer than.
What about the
a
dotting
K
a
or
hoa?
something. Well, yeah, but at the time, I don't think. Yeah, it wasn't a.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Nürburgring, I think, was a separate one.
The fact it was a public road too. Like, do you know what I mean? That's I guess the distinction between Indianapolis and Le Mans is that you can't have permanent kind of safety implications.
Yeah, but I think it was more political than safety reasons necessarily.
I guess when you
got them put in.
when you've got teams rocking
time.
up to do nothing other than to beat the speed record, maybe that's not in the best interest of the race. And
you got
Maybe.
manufacturers
But
actually. Yeah.
I remember an interview with Martin Brundle in 1990 with the introduction of the chicanes, and he said that those chicanes made the rest of the track in a way faster and perhaps more dangerous because they put more wing.
yeah.
They put more wing on the car for the chicanes, but that all of a sudden that made the Porsche curves and everything much more faster.
Yeah, it's still a super low downforce track though.
Yeah,
overall, like relative to other tracks.
Well, until I think they've frozen it now, but you always had cars that would run their Le Mans aero kits, and then for the rest of the World Endurance Championship, they'd have a completely separate set of bodywork for the.
it's like a Monza downforce level because a lot of the time they go to Monza and skip the first chicane for their testing for the event.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool. I know Porsche do that.
Yeah. So, are we all going to stay up and watch the whole race in full?
absolutely. We've organised to have a big barbecue.
Yep.
All together at the same place and watch it.
Can't wait for it.
Oh, it's.
And if
Le
you
Mans
fall
not-
asleep, you're kicked out. That's a
Yeah.
retirement.
Le Mans not-
If you fall asleep, you're sent home.
Le Mans not my favourite race of the year, but it's definitely up there. And I'm so glad that they are running it. I'm so glad that we didn't miss out on it.
We've at least got something to watch.
It's just so iconic.
Yep, there'll be spectators there, which is good. So they'll have a bit of atmosphere around the track. Because that would have been surreal if they ran it with no spectators, 24 hours.
It wouldn't matter at night.
No, it wouldn't. But
As long as they
just
ran the
feel.
Ferris wheel with the lights,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
As long as Johnny Palmer's commentating it, I'm happy.
What about Carlton Kirby
Yes.
on Eurosport?
It's Johnny Palmer. I watched the Eurosport coverage, mute it, and then played Johnny Palmer's
Yeah.
commentary over the top.
So
Well,
that's what we're doing, isn't?
I think so.
Yeah,
if
I'm
I
happy
get
with
my
that.
way.
The best
yeah.
part about the Eurosport coverage used to be Neville Hay in the middle of the night. He'd do sort of the graveyard shift with Martin Haven, but he wasn't on it last year, so I think we can give Eurosport a miss.
It's
Which is
just-
not
No,
an
it's
but
issue.
like, how
to take the
exciting.
video, like take the footage and then overlay it with the commentary. I think that's a
How
perfect
exciting
combination.
you think about it. We've waited. Coronavirus. We're finally going Le Mans racing. We're all set up. You got the Princess of Monaco with the Trincolor or whatever they call it. It's just like, I'm just excited, Luke. I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
I need it.
I can't wait. How are you going to get yourself into the mood to watch it, Adam?
I guess YouTube for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, just go back, watch some old races. Maybe not the full races, but watch the start, the night on boards, everything like that, just to get the juices flowing for it.
Well, seeing as I love my Golf 917s, I'll be watching Le Mans with Steve McQueen.
I'll so as I touched on before, Truth in 24, 1 and 2. Watch both those documentaries. Actually, the Port documentary they released for the 2019 event. That'll probably get a run as well. And then I'll likely jump in my Peugeot 908 and just do some laps around Le Mans on the PlayStation.
Oh, I
You'll
don't.
just be
I don't
cooking the
need-
barbecue to get it ready
Mate,
for us.
I don't need anything to get me excited. Just the fact that it's on, that gets me excited enough. Can't wait.
Okay, well, that'll about do us for this week's episode. Please make sure you subscribe to the podcast and give us a rating and spread the word to your family and friends. And head to our Facebook page and Instagram page and give us a like and a follow. Search Motor Racing Passion on Facebook, and on Instagram search Motor Racing Passion as one word, all in lowercase. On both platforms, in addition to the podcast information, we've got a great archive of family photos we're putting up from the last 30 plus years of attending race meetings. And this week, we've added a few photos from Daniel's trip to the big race in 2013. On behalf of Daniel, Adam and Brock, I'm Luke Blattman. Thank you for listening. Enjoy watching Le Mans this weekend, and I hope you can do the full 24-hour endurance test as we will be, and join us again soon for the next podcast. Motor Racing Passion is produced by Luke Ryan for Tum Drum Media.